YouTube, how's it going? Frogs Angels is back with some more NFL team-by-team record predictions. We're going through all the teams until we have playoffs, and then I'm going to predict the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. We did plenty of teams already, so if you haven't seen those, go check them out. They are on the channel. But after I get through all my predictions, we're going to get a couple Frogs Angels members together, possibly a live stream we're planning, and they're going to make their predictions. We'll keep you posted on an exact date and time. Should be not this upcoming weekend, but the next weekend. So, again, we'll keep you posted. Should be fun to get other perspectives on these predictions. I know a lot of people don't like mine, so we'll get other people's predictions, and then we should have a variety of different outcomes for the season. But today's video is on the Minnesota Vikings, and as most of you know, this is my team. I'm a big fan of the Minnesota Vikings. And I have high expectations, as I should, as a lot of you should. I have high expectations of the Minnesota Vikings this year. You know, I'm never the last few years, I've never was super confident about their offense. You know, they've had years where they're really low scoring, offensive line troubles. But this year is the first year where I'm super confident about their offense. You know, of course, I'm confident about their defense. But getting Kirk Cousins in there, and last year they kind of surprised me on offense. You know, playmakers like Diggs, he's only 24 years old. I expect big things from him. I expect Thielen to be around the same. Kyle Rudolph, solid tight end. And then the running back duo, you know, hopefully Dalvin Cook stays healthy. I think he's one of the better backs in the NFL if he's healthy. Obviously, we need to see him play more, but very good catching the ball in the backfield. And Latavius Murray can play, so that's a darn good second-string running back. Offensive line worries me a little bit. You know, run blocking, I think we're good. You know, I think we're good run blocking. You know, Nick Easton out for the season. That hurts quite a bit, not only because he's the starting guard, but he's the backup center. And Pat Elflein has a bit of an injury, but he's supposed to be good week one, and pretty young and pretty good rookie season out of him. But pass blocking scares me a little bit. You know, it was pretty good, similar offensive line last year, and it was surprisingly good last year. Maybe not in the NFC Championship game, but other than that, it was pretty good. So I'm not super worried about it. That if I had to point out something that concerns me a little bit, it would be the pass blocking. I'm confident about the run blocking, like I said. Defense, you know, I expect the number one defense. You know, the Vikings and the Jags, I expect to be at the top of the NFL on defense. There's really no reason that they shouldn't be up there, you know, unless there's some crazy injuries. But I expect Danielle Hunter to step up this year. 2 years ago, led the Vikings in sacks while coming off the bench. He's still very young, got his big contract. He's going to start opposite Everson Griffin again. Got very close to the quarterback a bunch of times, just couldn't quite get the sack, but caused QB hurries. I expect a lot more sacks this year. Anthony Barr, you know, working in on the DN spot in practice. You know, he's going to start at outside linebacker, but I expect more pass rush productivity out of him. You see the times Mike Zimmer sent him on a blitz last year, he really got in there and caused the QB to hurry. So, you know, coming out of UCLA, he was more of a pass rusher, so he can do this stuff. So it should be very fun to watch. Corners, I expect, you know, there's some talk that Mike Hughes can take Trey Wayne's spot. I don't think so. I think Trey Wayne's had the best year of his career last year. I think he's one of the better tackling corners in football. Very impressive. You know, I think he improved. He's still young. Mike Hughes will play. You know, we've seen Mike Zimmer use two linebackers at times and have multiple corners or more than the two corners out there. Terrence Newman, I think, is going to take I don't think he's going to get as many snaps. I think it's going to be Mackenzie Alexander and Mike Hughes in there, along with, obviously, Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes. And pretty much other than that, similar stuff, except Sheldon Richardson. I keep remembering that we got Sheldon Richardson. I get so excited. Him with Linval Joseph should be fun to watch. Maybe the rookie from last year, Jaleel Johnson from Iowa, steps up a little more. That'd be pretty fun. But, yeah, I got high expectations this year. Kirk Cousins in there. You know, there's no reason why. I'm predicting him to be better than he was on the Redskins. Not insane amount better, but there's really no reason why he shouldn't be the same or better. So anybody that thinks otherwise, I don't really agree. But we will see. One loss on the offseason that kind of hurts me a little bit is Jarius Wright. I think other Vikings fans the same thing. You know, I don't think we need him to win a Super Bowl, but just a very likable guy, big part of the Vikings offense for years, true slot receiver, came up big in so many third downs last year. So it hurts a little bit losing him. We do get Kendall Wright in there. Does Treadwell step up? We'll see. But let's get on to these predictions. Week 1, home against the Niners. Jerick McKinnon on the Niners. A little sad to see McKinnon go too, but I think we got 2 solid running backs in there, and then maybe even a third solid running back, Rock Thomas and Mike Boone, looking pretty impressive. I don't expect them to get much during the regular season. Facing McKinnon, facing Jimmy Garoppolo, true test for Garoppolo. Won all those games at the end of the year. Did have some interceptions, but bottom line, he won them. Now he's going to play the best defense in football in week 1. It's going to be a true test. If this was in San Francisco, this would be a heck of a game, I think. It would be a tough pick, but at US Bank Stadium in Minnesota, week 1, I think the Vikings defense is too good for them. I think they're the better team. Week 2, in Green Bay, in Lambeau. The reason why the Vikings can win this game is because I think that overall they're the better team, and being in Lambeau early is a good thing for the Vikings, good draw for them, because it is tough for the Vikings to play outdoor and in the cold and against Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, but it's going to be warm here still in week 2. So those are 2 reasons why I think they can win. Green Bay's obviously got Aaron Rodgers back. He's going to want revenge. That crowd's going to be wild. Again, I think the Vikings are the much better team, but the Packers have Aaron Rodgers, and I just don't know. With Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if the Vikings go 2-0 on the Packers, so for that reason I got to go with the Packers, but really could go either way. Bills at Vikings, as of right now, it's hard to see the Bills scoring really many points at all in this one. 10 maximum maybe. That's how I see it now. Bills defense, pretty good. They can maybe force some turnovers, and that'll be the key to winning this game, but I think the Vikings are just way better than the Bills here. I'll take them. Thursday night in LA. Last year, remember the game, it was in Minnesota, so a little bit different, but the Rams went down there, marched down the field, scored instantly, and that was the only score they had the rest of the game, the whole game. So Vikings really figured something out against the Rams. I think they had a few key guys out of that game too, so they were very impressive. I think it's a bad matchup for the Rams. This one is in LA, but I don't think the Vikings will let Todd Gurley go wild same as last year. I think they can stop Jared Goff. They want to make him throw deep. I think it's a bad matchup for the Rams, even though Thursday night in LA, it makes it very tough. But I'm playing a matchup here. I'm going with the Vikings. Could go either way, but they completely outplayed them last year. Week 5 is in Philly. Revenge game. Being in Philly's tough again. I don't expect it to be like the NFC Championship game, but playing in Philly's tough no matter who the quarterback is here, Wentz or Foles. You expect Wentz. So a little different look. But I think the Vikings will play much better. I think it's a winnable game, but last few years they've struggled against Philly. They've struggled outdoor, especially on this field. So I'll take the Eagles, but it really can go either way. If they match up in the playoffs, that'll be very interesting no matter where it's at. I think anything can happen. Home against the Cardinals in week 6. Will it be Bradford against his old team? Bradford, I think he's pretty darn good, when he's healthy. But there was just so many times when he wasn't healthy, even when he played. The Bears game for the Vikings last year, it was a disaster. Put Keenum in, they win the game. So the Cardinals could be pretty solid if their star players on defense like Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson step up. They do have some developing to do on the defensive side too. And the receivers, besides Larry Fitzgerald. Quarterback, who will it be at this point? My prediction is Josh Rosen. Going to be a learning experience at USA Bank and against the top defense in football. I'll take the Vikings. And then at the Jets, will it be Teddy Bridgewater? That'll be interesting. I have different views on the Jets, who their quarterback is. I'm a big fan of Teddy Bridgewater, and that's not because he was on the Vikings. I mean, what I saw when he was healthy on the Vikings plays a part in it. But as you know, my favorite thing to do, I think, the thing that I'm best at on this channel is covering the draft. I've been like that for years, even before I had this channel. And Teddy Bridgewater is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen play college football for the pro level. Being pro ready, being able to transition to the NFL. So I was very high on Teddy Bridgewater before he was on the Minnesota Vikings. So if the Jets start Teddy Bridgewater, this can be a totally different team. I'm predicting that Darnold is the quarterback at this time. And I think even if it was Teddy, then the Jets could win, but I would still pick the Vikings are the much better team. Then they're playing the Saints. That's become a rival game. It's going to be a good game. It's tough that the Saints got to go play in Minnesota again, but you could say the same thing. It's tough the Vikings got to go play in Philly again. So kind of rough draws there for those teams. I think being at home is the factor here, but the Saints are going to want revenge. This could go either way. But that was a tricky, the first half of that game, and everybody knows the Vikings completely dominated them. They lose Sendejo then with an injury, and, I'm not going to say it's because of Sendejo, but something happened there where Drew Brees took over. But I'll take the Vikings. I do think they're the better, more complete team, and they're at home. If this was in New Orleans, I think it would be a little different here. Who knows? Home against Detroit. These are always really good games, the Lions games. I don't know if the Lions are as good of a team as they were last year. Depends on how Stafford plays. Maybe Stafford has his best year of his career. If that happens, it would not surprise me one bit. I think Kirk Cousins and Stafford pretty similar. I got to go with the Vikings at home, but, these games are close. Then the bye week in week 10, then they're going to Chicago. I think the Bears will be an upgraded team from last year. It's really on Trubisky, though. What are we going to get from Trubisky? These are always good games, too. The Vikings got to go to Chicago in the cold. It's tough. Tough place to play. I think the Bears could win the game. They almost won it last year, but it was a little messy with the Bradford situation. The Vikings still managed to win because they're the better team. I still think they're the better team, so I'll go with the Vikings. And then home against the Green Bay Packers. I think both the games can go either way. I just don't think either team will go 2-0 on the series. I think it'll be 1-1. If somebody is going to go 2-0, I do think the Vikings are the better team. The Packers do have maybe the best player in football, though. But at home, you got to go with the Vikings here. Week 13 is in New England, and that's going to be a heck of a game, As a Vikings fan, you don't recall the Vikings going against Tom Brady and the Patriots all that much. The last time they played, I remember we had Matt Castle as their quarterback, and that was just a disaster. I'm pretty sure Adrian Peterson was out of that game too, and it was just a complete mess. But we kind of expected it. But so not, the Vikings, Mike Zimmer, good at game planning, great defense, but they haven't really seen a Gronkowski yet. I think the first time playing against that type of offense, Tom Brady and Gronkowski, they could give up some points here, especially in New England in the cold. So I will take the Patriots in that one. I think it'll take some getting used to. I think maybe the second half the Vikings defense steps up big time, but it's something new they'll see. Maybe a bad matchup. It'll be a tough game for them in New England's big time for the Patriots. So I'll take the Patriots. Week 14, ignore Week 18. They're playing in Seattle on Monday night. That's actually tough to do, to go, even though Seattle may take a step down. Great defense, but Russell Wilson could pretty much play against any defense. Does he have enough weapons? Does he have an offensive line? I think the Vikings-Seahawks games were good before. I think the Vikings are better now, and I think the Seahawks take a step down. But again, Russell Wilson, Monday night at home, could go either way, but the Vikings are much better. I'll take them. Dolphins and Vikings. Vikings at home here. I don't think the Dolphins' offense gets going enough to win this game. I think the Vikings can score on the Dolphins. Bad matchup, and the better team wins. I'll take the Vikings. Week 16. Like I said, these Lions-Vikings games are close no matter who's on the team, no matter who's better. In Detroit, I think, not too many receivers did well against the Vikings last year. Marvin Jones tore it up against the Vikings last year. So maybe he gets it going again. Detroit wins this one in a close one. Like usual, it's close in that game. Same thing with the Bears-Vikings, but maybe not in Minnesota in Week 17. Will this game matter for either team here? But I'll take the Vikings at home, of course. So I got them going 12-4. Again, ignore Week 18. It's trying to predict the playoffs. Will it be the Cowboys after we get through all these teams? Maybe. But 12-4 I think is very realistic. Going back and look at it, Week 1, they could lose Week 1. I talked about Week 1 being very confusing, mysterious, unpredictable, tells us nothing about the rest of the season. So who knows? Anything can happen there. I do think they can win Week 2. I think they can lose You can pretty much say it about a lot of these when they're matched up against good teams here. They can lose to the Rams. I think they can beat the Eagles. Can lose to the Saints. These NFC North games are very good. I think they can beat the Patriots. I do. Last year I was planning on the Super Bowl being the Vikings and the Patriots at one point, and I was really thinking the Vikings would have too much defense for them at that point, but it's the Gronkowski thing is kind of getting me. They could in New England, it's a different game, so I think it can go either way. But being in New England, that's the reason mainly I picked the Patriots. So they could win that game. Honestly, I think they can beat the Lions. They can go 2-0 against the Lions, but never know. So a lot of these can go either way. A lot of them go either way. I have high expectations for them. Like I said, I haven't always been super confident in the offense because there's the past years they've been going into games putting up 10 points. So, but I am very confident this year because Kirk Cousins, I think, is for sure an upgrade. Dalvin Cook's back. Stephon Diggs is going to enter his prime. He's looking ridiculous. Thielen, I think, is going to be the same. So there's no reason why this offense should be a step up. And they were surprisingly pretty solid last year. That's a big reason why they made it that far. But they made it that far with their backup quarterback, too. And the Eagles won the Super Bowl with their backup quarterback. So I think balanced, complete teams is how to win a Super Bowl, So we will see, though. Not to count out the teams like the Patriots, teams like maybe the Packers get back there. We'll see. But that'll do it for the Vikings video. Let me know what you think. Any Vikings fans out there, let me know what you guys think. What did I miss on here? But that'll do it for this one. Our subscriber goal is 10K subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so to help us out. And don't forget to click that like button. That'll be much appreciated if you can click that button. But yeah, stay tuned for the rest of the teams. Can't wait to get through the playoffs, predict all that. Again, then we'll have other predictions from other guys. Maybe I'll have final predictions, record predictions, because maybe I changed my mind on a few of these going through them over the past few weeks. And then during the year, weekly pick'ems. Can't wait for that. Those are always fun with the guys. Weekly pick'ems for the NFL, and I'll do college this year too. Should be fun. Stay tuned for all that. That'll do it for this one. Goodbye.